most important thing of the night is that you can come and go as you please. Meaning, if you have somewhere to be, you have to go to work, you have a kid to pick up, whatever you need to do is totally fine with me. It's a very open forum. And there will be people still coming who are, wherever, and they're just getting here for whatever chunk of message that they can get. And that's totally fine. My name is Kristen Morey. Some of you know me, and some of you don't. I see a lot of familiar faces now. And the best thing that you can do is share this if you have social media so that other people know to attend and to come. We had a really huge following this past winter, and I presume we'll get back into that. It's fall, so we are all a little spread thin. But if you're sitting here tonight, you know a difficult person, and so you're in the right place, and it's the right time. And you might be a difficult person, and so you're also in the right place at the right time. But like I said, if you need to get up, use the bathroom, get another round of food and drink, help yourself. Really, this is so informal and so loving and so caring that it doesn't really matter if you're moving about and that sort of thing. I would like to open with a prayer tonight. So if you could just bow your head, and if you want to just grab the hand of the person next to you, that would be great. Lord, I thank you so much that we arrived safely. I thank you so much for the word that you have poured into my heart. I hope it comes out as good as you put it in. Lord, I come against all of the relationships that are broken in people that we know. It might not be our own broken relationships, but it might be that you're here on behalf of somebody because you don't know how to help your friend. Lord, thank you so much that you are breaking in, and that tonight is happening because tonight is going to be groundbreaking in so many families, and it's going to change the way that the holiday season goes and the rest of our lives go. Thank you so much for your peace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your promises. And I just thank you that we are all here gathered and agree that you are wonderful. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen. All right, so here we are. We're starting off about difficult people. It's so important to learn this skill. I have not mastered it. I'm preaching to myself as I'm preaching to you. I struggle with it every day, and I'm sure that all of you do as well. It is something so near and dear to my heart because I feel that I was raised as a critical, judgmental person. I saw the wrong in everybody, and if somebody didn't agree with me, I would be angry at them. And if somebody felt the need to tell me that I was wrong, it hurt my feelings, and I got defensive and I got offended. And I spent a lot of my, I would say, older teenage years. I went to college at 16, so I thought I knew everything at that point in life. And right around 14, 15, through about 21, 22, I really just was mad at a whole lot of people. And so I arrived at a point when I was having my kids, after I was married, so I was married when I was 21, had my first child at 25, where I found that I had destroyed a lot of relationships around me because I was angry at everybody for what they didn't do or what they said or what they didn't say. And there was a little lightning bolt in Jesus that hit me when one of my dads died. Dr. Fish, as some of you may know him. And what I realized was, who are my kids going to have? Who are they going to have to talk to be together on the holidays? What does our family holidays look like? And things were starting to really get small. And so I took ownership for that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to rise above it. And I had some time for God to really soften my heart. And I said, I'm going to be able to face all the people who have hurt me with peace and love. And that was a really tall order for me. But if I can do it, you can do it. And if I can still go into my in-laws' front door right now, you can do it. And if I can hang out with my dad and stepmom right now, you can do it. Because 9 years separated us from silence, and I'm going to dig into that tonight. If you want peace, you can have it. And you can trade all of the strife in your life, which is the drama, for peace. And when you get that, you just get a level of stability that you never want to lose. And when you have a tumultuous interaction with somebody, and you do lose it, you seek peace so hard because it feels so much better to be in peace than it does to be in strife. So that's what tonight is all based on. So when I teach this, I walk the walk, I talk the talk, I fail every day, and I try harder. So here we are, here we roll. I got an email this morning. I want to read it to you. It's not a drama. It's one from Rick Warren. And if you don't get his emails, he has Daily Hope with Rick Warren. If you want to write that down, he sends a devotional every day, and it's so fantastic. He chose Psalm 62:5, which I thought this was so good. And Psalm 62:5 says, I depend on God alone. I put my hope in him. He alone protects and saves me. He is my defender, and I shall never be defeated. He said, there's always going to be people in your life who misunderstand you and people who don't like you. There will always be people who criticize you, judge you, attack you, and spread rumors about you. When you are misunderstood, you're going to have a tendency to get in there and defend yourself. And when you're attacked, your tendency is to attack back. Just like the rest of us. When people criticize you, you're going to want to criticize back. And when people insult you, you're going to want to insult them back. Don't do it. Let God be your defender. Every time you're under attack, criticized, put down, or misunderstood, you have two choices. You can defend yourself, or you can let God defend you. Which will it be? Oh, that was such a great thought-provoking email to get this morning. And then I felt God say to me that there's somebody here tonight, somebody here who struggled to show up, who is so completely overwhelmed with relationships. And it brings me a little bit to tears because I feel for you. And you're going into this holiday and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I just hate everybody, and you're so overwhelmed, and you've lost your sense of joy, and you just feel so out of control. And my encouragement for you, what he wants you to know, is that if you listen to this and you put this in effect, he's got you covered. So whoever you are, I don't know who you are, but he said, please say that to somebody tonight. So there you go. All right, now we can dip in. Now we can start having some fun. Okay. Emotions are going to go down. So the best holiday ever is a 3-part series I'm teaching. This is part 2. Next week is part 3. Please bring a friend next week. Next week is just amazing about staying calm in the storm. And the holidays are just a tornado. And so I feel like if I can teach you how to navigate standing still in a tornado, you're going to be good to go. So Calm in the Storm is coming next Monday. So that's this is part of my series. Hold on, here it comes. Here. Hold on. Okay. Whoop, whoop. New clicker. Calm in the storm. Little stick. Staying peace, finding patience, and choosing joy in the midst of chaos. So who am I? I think you all know who I am here. So I'm going to blow through this a little bit. This is my office on Kent Island. I'm Dr. Maury. I've been married 12 years to an amazing man who I still tiff with, and he teaches me a lot on what to preach on. I'm a mom to Aiden and Peyton, who teach me patience every day. I love God with all my heart, and I want to make him proud. That's why I'm standing up here. I'm not standing up here to be anybody's friend or impress anybody. I'm just standing here because I want to make God proud. If he can teach me some of the things that he has taught me and softened my heart, which was so hard, he can do it for you too. 4 years ago, I realized how much God had done with my heart, and then he put it on my heart to do this. And he gave me a gift of communication, and I'm not scared of nobody up here, and I have no fear of public speaking. I can talk all night. And so I'm actually reining in at the hour mark because I want to be more respectful of people's time this year than I was last year. Last year would be like 2 hours and we'd still be going strong. And I realized that you wax and wane on that one. So, but you know, I really just plan on traveling the world and doing this, and I'm not sure how that's going to frame out and what that's going to look like, but I trust him. And I know that I need to start here, and I'm thankful for Bonnie, who's given me that start. She's just amazing, sitting in the back. And I want you to learn what I have so that you can teach others what you have learned from me. I think that's so important. Hi, get food, there's food over there. You're around when you're supposed to, get food. All right, I have a couple disclaimers. This is really important to me. Legally, I have to tell you, I'm not a physician. My name is Dr. Maury. I have a doctorate in physical therapy. I am not a physician. So therefore, this presentation is not medical advice. I am here to help you, and I am a lover, not a judger. So you can come to me and tell me all the things that you've done wrong in your life and how you just don't understand how God would ever forgive you, and I'm going to tell you how he can forgive you, and I'm going to tell you that you're all right. But I really love you no matter what you've done. I even tell my patients who are coming in to lose weight, I said, even if you knock down a Papa John's and a Snickers on the parking lot, it's just nothing but love. There's no judgment in my heart for you. I am not a debater, and what that means is if you disagree with me on something that I say tonight and you write me a nasty email about it, I will pray for you and I will not respond. Some of these images are not original images and some of them are. If they are not original, like this one, I've stolen it from the internet and it's not a copyright infringement, because I'm letting you know that. I took this picture last year on the fall campus of my kids' school. And I just really want to review what I taught last week in case you weren't here, but in case you were here, let's put it into some words. I said, trees do not see the change of season as a struggle. Not once does a tree get stressed out and ask God to make a season go back because the season gets uncomfortable. Instead, the tree becomes more beautiful in response to the change and how the whole world admires it. If you're struggling because your season is changing and you feel like it's totally overwhelming, cheer up. You are designed to enjoy the change. Change makes us all more beautiful and strong. So, my friends, enjoy the change. Be grateful for the change, even when it isn't comfortable. It's okay to change color. It's okay to drop some leaves. And remember that even when when there's just the branches left, and I have my little tree up here, there is still life in your trunk. And if the tree can learn to bloom and grow after it has lost all of its leaves and endured a cold season, so can we. The struggle is really real for everyone. So be thankful for your struggle. And this is so important because what I had done that day is picked up some leaves, which are dried out now, but they still have the same purpose. And I talked to you all last week about how this green leaf, which is all struggled now, but all crumbled now. But this green leaf was like fresh off the tree and it was still very much alive. It hadn't changed yet. And then it began to change where it got some red in it. There we go. And then it really turned completely red. Very bright red. Sorry, it's so scrunched, but it's so pretty. And then it turned brown. And then it fell off. And then this is what you get. And so even this is beautiful. And this I actually picked up off the ground, which I need to make another point. God pruned that from the tree, right? So he let that go. Nobody broke that off. That was just a real prune. And it still has purpose because I'm teaching you with all of it. So God has purpose in every single thing that he prunes from you. And God has purpose in every single thing that hurts and that's uncomfortable. And how does God get you to grow? He puts you in the midst of a complete struggle and he won't let you out of it. And so if he's not letting you out, you need to take a deep breath and you have to realize that it's going to be all right. Because he's made us so many promises, and you know what, when you stick to his order, he creates order. When you stick to his order, he works things out for your good. And a lot of times it's so supernatural how he does it. So I always say, you do the natural, you do your best, and he'll do the rest. So he is super and you are natural. And when that comes together, amazing things can happen. I also reviewed last week. Catch up with me, babe. Okay. This picture is also really important for you to remember, and when you get all overwhelmed and stressed out, I want you to Google oxen yoked, because this is a picture of two oxen, and this is them yoked together, so they share the load. Okay? And so, when you're fatigued, when you're stressed, you have to remember who is with you and who is for you, because it's supernatural, right? In the natural, it seems totally overwhelming, but with the super, he's got it. So in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, which means let me yoke up with your burden. And learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. I often read this verse at nighttime because at nighttime the whole day is kind of on your shoulders, right? You're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling like what's coming tomorrow. And so I try to relax my shoulders and just say, you know what? If I just take half of that and give it to Jesus, and he carries half of it and I carry the other half, well, we can do it together because he doesn't grow weary and he doesn't grow tired, but we do. He's got that super. Hold on. Hold on. Thank you. So this picture, this is not my living room, I found this on the internet, but it looked really cozy to me, and I really like it because if there's one thing that I like to do, and you just will make me laugh, I like to sit in a dark room and stare at my Christmas tree. And sometimes I like to just leave work and get in my jams and look completely socially unacceptable and sit with the lights out and stare at the tree with my kids. And that seems a little weird, but this is what brings me peace and harmony. And I'll tell you, a couple years ago, I encountered a couple of really difficult people who are probably the basis of me preaching this message tonight. And I couldn't sit and enjoy my Christmas tree. And I was so fired up because I was angry that somebody had stolen my joy and I couldn't sit and enjoy my lights because my mind kept going back to them. And so this tree, just being lit, the joy in it that it brought to me, I have that on the inside of me now, and I have that on the heart of me now, and so you could pretty much come do anything and say anything that you wanted to me, and because God is my defender, like the email said, you can't rock my joy now, and that's hard. You might get me upset for a minute, but I'm so hungry for stability that I go back to the staple point. That is the rock that I'm going to teach about today. So if you want to have the best holiday ever, I also stole this is not my family, you have some decisions to make. And what did I Google? I Googled family holiday meal together happy. 5 words. And this is what I got. Because it really never looks like this, even though this is how we all really want it to go, right? So I'm going to help you navigate how to make it go that way. So I have 10 decisions, and yeah, it's actually more than 10, but I have 10 decisions that I want you to make. And I drew this image, this is an original from the iPad. The first decision of all is to put Christ at the center. And what this means, God actually taught me this, gosh, when was it? 4 years ago, 5 years ago? 5 years ago, maybe 6, but reconciling a relationship with my biological dad and stepmom, and I'll go into that in 1 second. Here we roll. You cannot get along with anyone unless you recognize Christ at the center of your relationship. A year ago, I prayed that I would love people like Christ loves people. So I stood over there when we were all set up over there before, and I said, okay, I have 2 goals in this new year. I said, I would like to love people like Christ loves people, and I know that's a tall order because that's kind of impossible, but I was going for it anyway. And I would like to see people the way that Christ sees people, because if you can just say, okay, well, what would God think about these people? And if you could realize that God cares for your difficult people in your life, like all the people who are causing you trouble, God cares for them just as much as He cares for you. And for a whole hot summer, I thought that that was so unfair, and I argued with God about it, but He said to me, no, I love all of you the same. I love each of you like there was only one of you. I don't know that I love that, but all right, I'll sit with that. And I let that sit with me for a good minute or two, and it really soaked in. And I will say that the reason that I'm good to people who are wrong to me is because that's what God wants me to do. And if I can be good to people who are wronging me, He can work in their life. If I wrong them back, He can't work in their life because now I'm a bad example and a bad representative for God. So if you just stay on the right and you do the right thing even when the wrong thing is happening, there's power in that. And that's what can bring you peace. So I would like to encourage you to rearrange your relationships. Now let's dig into me and my biological dad. I love him with all my heart and soul, but we had a very tumultuous relationship leading up to my wedding. And so when the wedding day came, things weren't so good. And so there was a whole lot of crispy family. You ever been to an event where there's crispy family and you're like, please God, don't let anything happen here? And you all put on your happy faces like, I'm good, look at that, da-da-da. But on the inside you're like, if she does something, I'm gonna knock her head off. And you get fired up, you get really ready to take on whatever happens. I'll take care of it, don't worry, I've got it. And this just happened with one of my patients and their wedding and their family. And so I was like, just stay calm, just seek peace the whole time. And so I hadn't spoken to my dad. So the wedding happened and there was an incident at the wedding. We don't have to go into those details because that doesn't matter. What matters is that we had 9 years of silence and a whole lot of nasty words right after the wedding that led to 9 silent years. And at first, I just told everybody, I was like, I just don't understand how he can do this. He just doesn't want anything to do with me. He just doesn't, okay, and so it was all of that. And then I was just so mad at him that I would hear a song and it would trigger my anger and I would just be madder at him, and I'd get out of the car, I'd be like, Chris, what's wrong? I'm like, I just heard a song, triggered how I felt about my dad. And so I encourage you that if you have triggers like that, you need to get rid of them in your life. You change the channel, okay? You change the channel on the radio. Don't even go there. Don't even allow your mind to be fed by the enemy who is just waiting to fuel your fire against whoever you don't like and what they have done wrong. And so and the reason I won't tell you the details is because you side with me. Just kidding. But there it is. There is the root of pride. And so I had my first baby, and I had my second baby, and God said to me, and this was very supernatural, He said, your dad is laying in a hospital bed alone. And I said, no, he's not. And I just kind of blew by that, and I really honestly squashed it down. It was the truth. I didn't know it. He was telling me. I did not know that at the time, though. I had no knowledge of that. But He told me that, and I squashed it down. And I'll tell you what, if you want to know how God is talking to you, He will sit something on you deep down inside of you, and it will not go away. And it's the right thing to do. And so He said, you need to call your dad and you need to apologize. And I was like, no. We argued 2 months, me and God, over this. And I went through this a little bit in the winter. And so I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And he said, you're going to do it on behalf of me because what I have done for you. And what he had done for me is really softened my heart and changed my life and saved my marriage. And really, he really had provided so much for me that really I needed to do the right thing. And so I cowered down a little bit. And finally one day, he was like, you need to do it now. And I was like, I'm not doing it now. And he's like, you need to do it now. I'm not doing it now. And I said, I don't even know his phone number. And so he said, yes, you do. And so I was like, well, fine, then what is it? So I wrote it down. And I called my cousin. And I said, is this your Uncle Mike's phone number? And she said, yes. And I said, I need to talk to you. So I told her, I was like, God's telling me that I need to reconcile with my dad. And I don't want to because he's this and he's that. And they were this and they were that. And they were never this. And I can't believe it went down like that. And now I have kids. And I don't want to wreck up my kids because I want to bring my dad back into my life and all this drama, right? And so I mean, it was just hurt. Which is, if you're sitting here mad at somebody, you're just hurt. And that's what God said. He said, you're just hurt. And I was like, all right, well, fine. I'll do it. So I texted him. And I said, this is your daughter. And God has asked me to invite you to be a granddad into my children's life. I love you, and I hope that you can forgive me for all the wrong that I did. Talk about humble pie. You hear the silence in here? It was so hard, guys. It was so hard. But let me tell you, like, God had broke through. Like, there was things that changed in my life so fast, so many blessings, so many things that came out of that one act of obedience that I really didn't want to do. But all it was swallowing my own pride and apologizing even for something that I didn't do wrong and forgiving him on behalf of God who has forgiven me because I'm not perfect. I messed up too. I did things that were wrong too and it hurt me and I became angry. And that seed of anger wrecked so much in my life and I reacted so poorly to other things that were happening in my life because really I was just hurt on the inside from what had happened. And so if I can tell you guys this, and I can stand up here and say, he's the best granddad in the world to my kids. He is so happy that we are in his life. And he has reverse aged. I can't even tell you, when I first saw him for the first time, I was like, oh, he's aged. And then now he's like reverse aged because God softened him up and he's let him have a chance to be a granddaddy. Whether or not he deserved it, that's not for us to decide. And so sometimes what we can be is the best representative to Christ that we can be, and that is to forgive and squash it. It doesn't mean you have to forget stuff. It just means forgive it and let it go. Because you know what? That's easier than not letting it go. So he said to me, I said, what if he hurts me again? He said, if you place me between you, when he hurts you, he's actually going to me. And so my next drawing has lightning bolts. These are lightning bolts. It's not so great. So when he gets angry at me and says something that makes me want to do that, without God at the center, it goes right to my heart. But if I'm like, hey God, he did that, but I'm still going to be this to him, and there has been opportunity for me to still be offended, and there has been opportunity for me to still get my feelings hurt, and there has been opportunity for me to just say, you know what, no, this is not okay, it's not right. No, what I've done is acted more like Jesus in that one relationship than I have been able to. And that means that whenever there is opportunity for me to get offended, I apologize. And it's not about me being a doormat. What it's about is me just swallowing my own pride and eating a little humble pie on behalf of God, because there's no way for God to soften his heart unless I react kindly. If I reacted with fire to him, it would fire him up more and harden his heart. Make sense? You can be good to people even when they're not good to you. You will always have strife if you don't put God at the center. So when you make it about you and God and about them and God, but not about you and them, you have success. God said to me, when somebody hurt me a couple years ago really bad, he said, I need you to step out of my way and be quiet and be peaceful so that I can deal with them. So sometimes you have to shut the mouth, tamper the tongue, not swallow anger, and just be, and trust that he's working it out, even when you don't see it. When Christ is at the center, you allow him to deal with their wrongs, and you keep yourself in the right. You can help Christ work through you when you put him at the center of your relationships. And I mean this as far as marriages go. If your marriage is in trouble right now, Jesus is not at the center of it. And what that means is that you need to stop going at your husband, as I very well do myself because I'm human. I always am trying to make my husband my Jesus. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you save me? Can you do this? Oh my gosh, can you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I don't understand this. I don't understand that. That is so wrong, but if I can use my struggle to help you, amen. So if you're in a marriage that's hard, and this is part of your problem, you're bringing up every fight, you need to remind yourself to put God at the center. If you allow God to deal with your wife, or you allow God to deal with your husband, and you keep your mouth shut and you stay out of the way, miracles are going to happen. Then people ask you how you got what you got. Decision number 2. We're only on decision number 2. Wait till we get to 6.5. You can forgive people. You can forgive someone instantly. In fact, most of the time, if I'm talking to somebody who said something to me that is not okay, I silently make a decision to forgive them before they're even done speaking. You can forgive someone even when they don't ask, because forgiveness is actually for you. It's not for them. And so everybody's like, I don't know how to forgive. I saw a sign here on my way, and it's sort of lit a little spark on the inside of me to correct it. And here's why. It says, forgive others so that God can forgive you. And that is in Scripture. But let me tell you something. As an immature Christian, that would have been a really hard thing for me to swallow, because I'm like, well then, I don't even want a relationship with God if He can't forgive me because I can't forgive others, because that doesn't mean His love's unconditional. Well, no, just back up the truck. What this means is that, you know what? In a really important relationship, I am going to still offend my dad at some point. So if he offends me, I am going to forgive him instantly, because you know what? When I mess up, I'm going to want instant forgiveness. If my husband does something wrong and I instantly forgive him, that is awesome, because I'm going to do something wrong and I'm going to want instant forgiveness. Right? It's all about you give what you want and you get what you give. It comes back to you. So if you're going to sow a seed of instant forgiveness in, you're going to plant a harvest to get instant forgiveness from people. I have wronged people in the past, and I go back to them still. If I think of it to this day and I say, I am so sorry that we ever had crosswords. I am so sorry that I ever hurt you. I am so sorry that I ever harmed you. And you know what? God even made me apologize a couple years ago to some people that had wronged me really bad, and He said, you need to go to them and apologize and do whatever you can to make peace. And I didn't want to. I wanted to tell them off, and I wanted to let them have it. And it was so awesome when I went to them for forgiveness, because they had no reaction but love. And that was so powerful to me, because anger got us nowhere, but love got us everywhere. Forgiveness is a decision, not a feeling. God taught me that when He taught me to let go and forgive my dad. And so I had to decide to forgive. I couldn't wait to forgive. And He told me, He said, you have been waiting 9 years to feel like forgiven. And if you want to feel like forgiven, your relative or your friend or your coworker or your husband or your daughter or your sisters. I don't have a sister, but sisters. And you can teach forgiveness. It's amazing. Decision number 3, choose to see the best in people. I had some interesting people that I worked with this summer, and they brought me a challenge at least once a week. And those people, at one point I was like, God, what would you do with these people, because these people are going to drive me nuts. And He said, encourage them. And so I did, and I hope that ended up giving me the best end result. I'm still not sure yet, but we'll find out. But yeah, I mean, it did ultimately. But He said, when you're struggling with somebody who just brings you difficulty, start to encourage them, because nobody else is. And so what does Jesus do to us? He encourages us. He cleans up our messes. He picks up our pieces of brokenness. He puts us right back together, and He encourages us that His mercies are new every day. It's amazing. So please don't assume the worst in people ever. I was born a skeptic, as I told you, with a heart of criticism. And if I can unlearn this, you can unlearn this. God's mercy is bigger than your mistakes. And so your mercy should be bigger than people's mistakes. And that should be the person that cut me off in traffic this morning. I felt it like get me riled up for a minute, and then I was like, that poor person's in a hurry. And if they only knew not to be in a hurry, they wouldn't have just cut me off, because maybe they would have seen me. Most people are doing the best that they know how. And I want that to sit with you. Most people are doing the best that they know how. And just because that isn't what you would do or say doesn't mean that they're wrong. And so that goes for your parents. I'm going to pick a scab for a minute. Those parents that gave you a bad childhood, or your sister, or your brother, or your uncle, or your neighbor who really wronged you, those people were doing their best. Did they do the right thing? No, they didn't. But they were doing their best. I am the best mom that I know how to be to my children. I really am. But you know what? I mess up daily. And I'm like, whoo, Mom shouldn't have yelled there. Mom shouldn't have gotten upset about that. Hey guys, remember when Mommy lost her mind about this? That wasn't right. I bring my mistakes to my children to the forefront. People need to see us be a little more permeable, a little more transparent. Humble yourselves and admit your mistakes to each other, because there's love in that. If people see that you're human, they're going to soften and be more human too. It's so important. Try to believe the best in people. Try to have a heart of mercy. And give pardons as often as you can. This is really hard for me when I'm in a public space, because I have people who are completely unaware of what their impact is to others. I went to a Joyce Meyer conference recently in August, and it's all these Christians in one building, right? All these Christians on one parking lot. We're talking 8,000 people. And people, the way that they act when they're at the end of their rope and it's 10 o'clock and the meeting lets out, and you have to sit in traffic for a good 1, 2, sometimes 2.5 hours. And people are feisty and angry and all kinds of fired up, and they just worshiped for 2 hours and heard a message for an hour. Those people are doing the best they know how. And if you happen to have more peace than somebody else, grant them the pardon, because I can remember the people who granted me pardons. I can remember the people that gave me mercy when I didn't deserve it. Be that person. Be impeccable as far as that comes. Doesn't mean you can't lose your mind for a minute about it, but it means that you hold it back together. Decision number 4. Peace is power. If you post one thing to Facebook tonight, peace is power. Peace is the most powerful way to navigate with people. This includes your friends, your family, your coworkers, other drivers, etc. No matter how hard someone tries to upset you, wrong you, you can stay in peace and therefore maintain power. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 2 to 3. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. What this doesn't say is to lose your mind after 5 tries when it fails. So it doesn't mean, after you've tried to get together with your family for Thanksgiving 3 times and, somebody is complete. There's always the irrational one, okay? There's always the one that's I can't do it. I can't do that. No, I can't do that. Are we going to eat weird food? Are you going to bring an organic turkey? There's always going to be that person, so just accept it. Just make your mind up right this second tonight that no matter what anybody says or does in your family getting together this holiday, that you're just going to cruise right by it with peace. Because you can. You're going to feel so much better. Decision number 5. You are a partner with God. So this is really important to me. Mark 11:25. Wherever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father who is in heaven may forgive you as your trespasses. And what does this mean? This means that tonight when you lay your head on the pillow, and you're like, dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for my family. And thank you for the food that I eat and the roof that's over my head. And dear Lord, I'm just asking, could you just please bless XYZ and help me through this and help me through that? Who are you to come to God to ask for blessings if you're holding bitterness against people? That's what that means. And when I got that, I was like, whew, that's a heavy one. I had to clear some things up real quick because I had some requests for him. So do you have difficult people? Ask God to change your heart. Preacher Joyce Meyer told me that, and I thought to myself, well, it's not my heart that needs to be changed. Well, yes it is. It is your heart that needs to be changed. Because you know what? You can't change people. If you don't pray for the people in your life that are difficult, God can't work. And so if you want them to change, you have to change. You have to change your reaction. You have to change your action. You have to change your attitude. You have to change how you react. And how do you do that? And how do you stay rooted and grounded in peace? You just say, God, please help me. You forgive people as quickly as you can. You decide not to be offended. And you keep rolling with the rest of the 5 decisions that I got here for you tonight. Are we having fun? Your prayer for others opens the door for God to get in their heart. All right, let me try to illustrate this. I'm a bad illustrator, but it's all right. Okay. If this is somebody's heart that you don't like right now or who gives you a really hard time, if you pray for them, God will get it, right? If you yell at them, talk bad about them, gossip about them, think bad thoughts about them, it does this for the enemy. And he comes into your life. And so if you want the enemy to get all up in your life, and get all up in your thoughts, and get all up in your heart, and you want the enemy to take over your whole family and have fights and feuds and emails back and forth and carbon copy this one and reply to all on that one, if you want that drama, talk bad about people and stop praying for them. But if you want peace and you really want it and you want to seek it with all your heart and soul, pray for them and know that it's working. And keep your mouth shut. If you have anything against anyone, resolve it before you pray. So at the end of my day, I try to have the cleanest slate with people. And if I don't, then I end up going back to them and saying, I'm so sorry that I upset you. Humble yourself and bring yourself back down. Decision number 6. This is one of the best ones. Well, they're actually all great. Don't try to change people. You're not Holy Ghost Jr. God can change people, you cannot. Period. Difficult people do not change if you tell them that they need to, or you tell them that you're praying for them. Like if you want to try to get somebody back and say, I'm really praying for you. That doesn't work. They get mad. And if they get mad, it's even worse. Or if you read them scripture. Like don't come to somebody being like, if you have anything against anyone, then you can't ask God for something. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just pray for them. Just pray that their heart changes and be nice. Okay? They change when you pray for them. So, Luke chapter 6, verse 27-28. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. And pray for those who treat you badly. That feels better than being angry. Period. Romans chapter 12, verse 17-21. Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. Do not become overwhelmed or overcome by evil. Overcome evil with good. It feels good to buy a present for someone that has really wronged you. And if you haven't done it yet, you should. It's one of my best advice. Decision number 6.5. See, so I started putting point fives in here because I got nervous. The message came out on my nightstand on this pad, and then I was putting it in this PowerPoint. I realized I think that I had 12 points, not 10, and I wanted to stick to 10, so we're doing 6.5. Not everybody has to be your friend. It's just based on one image that I found on the internet and stole it. God says that the reason why some people have turned against you and walked away from you without any reason at all, and this has happened to me, has nothing to do with you. It is because I have removed them from your life because they cannot go where I am taking you next. They would only hinder you at the next level because they have already served their purpose in your life. Let them go and keep moving. Greater is coming your way, says the Lord. This is not scripture, but this is a really good point to make because let me tell you, God prunes people from your life sometimes and it hurts really bad, and He does it without reason. And so when He prunes someone for your life, trust Him. You know, there's scripture that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understandings. That's from Proverbs 3:5. If you trust God and you're not leaning on your own understanding, stop trying to figure it out. If you're trying to figure somebody out, or you're trying to figure out why somebody said something, or just never called you, or whatever, don't try to figure it out. The devil wants you to try to figure it all out. If you try to figure everything out that has gone wrong in your life, you're in trouble. Because He's going to keep feeding you the tapes of all wrongs and all the things. Squash it. Trust God. Leave it at that. Decision 7. Do not choose offense. Offense is a choice, like forgiveness is a choice. And when I realized this was like a really big power play in my life because I was offended by so much. This is one of the best emotions to never agree with. So if you want to recognize offense, this little tree branch is going to double as an antenna. This is great. All right. I taught this in my first message. I'm going to teach it now. All right. If you are a human, this is a great picture for Facebook. If you are a human on earth, you have two antennas. One receives from God, and one receives from the enemy. So when I was teaching about power thoughts, healthy thoughts, how to get yourself to think right thoughts, I said you have to recognize, you have to install like a little filter up here that says, where's the thought coming from? So let's say the thought enters your brain, and it says, you are fat. And you go, would God say that I was fat? No. Would the devil say that I was fat? Yes. Squash, back up, send the thought to God. Does that make sense? So, somebody says to you, you know, I really don't think that your children are well behaved, and you should really get a grip on your children. You go, is that a thought from God coming through their mouth, or is that a thought from the enemy? You know, because relatives, they decide to impart to you how your children behave, and they decide to impart to you how you should live your life. Like, well, how are you doing? So is he working? He's not working, huh? Well, I mean, and they just start like telling you their opinion on everything, or like, you know what, honey, you just really put on, I mean, they just tell you everything. So if you have this, and you have a filter up here, and you recognize where the thoughts are coming from, if it's a God-centered thing, that's awesome. And if it's a devil-centered thing, send it back up, because that'll give you power. Recognize what offense feels like so you can squash it. If there's a thought that comes in that makes you feel offended, send it back out to God. Got it? When you choose offense, you lose power. You lose peace. And most of all, you have a process of thoughts and actions that follow being offended. This creates a vicious cycle that leaves everyone, full of pain, hurt, anger, and emotional stewing. The word stewing is a very dangerous thing. I stewed for 9 years to my dad. He stewed for 9 years back at me. And I can only imagine how much that grieved God and how much time we wasted. This also happened on behalf of my in-laws and my husband. Yes, we talk about all this kind of stuff. They had silence. They were the ones that God pruned for a minute out of our life and then brought them back in. Why? I don't know. But my husband, the day before Thanksgiving, 4 years ago, called on my in-laws and said, God asked me to call you and apologize to have a relationship with you. And she said, who said what? Right. That's groundwork we gotta lay in another direction. So the vicious cycle is one where the enemy pops into that antenna and starts feeding you lies. Lies, lies, lies. And then other people in your family or your friend circle or your coworker cycle start feeding into gossip. And that's another very dangerous trap. Don't gossip. Don't listen to gossip. If somebody's like, do you want to hear what they said about you? No, you don't. You'll say, thank you very much, but I don't. I don't want to hear anything negative about what anybody says about what I'm doing in my current life right now. I know I'm up here helping God help you. And that is an honor of work. I don't want to hear about it. People are going to criticize me. People are going to say that I'm a woman in the pulpit and not allowed to be. I have my pastor's blessing. I have my husband's blessing. I am okay with that. I am completely comfortable with what I'm doing. But people are going to come against me. So you know all you can do for me? Pray. Pray for me. Decision number 7.5. When you feel offense, you will not speak or act poorly. So this is a decision. I made a decision a long time ago that when I feel offended, I'm not going to speak poorly. I'm not perfect at this, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. Because you used to hit a switch on me and boom, off I would go. Your reaction is what you can get control of. So don't ever forget that. Seek peace. And no matter what someone says to you, no matter what someone does to you, or doesn't do for you, you can stay in peace and maintain power. So I drew this nice little illustration to the right. And it starts at the incident. Boom. And then an incident usually will give you hurt, which always comes before anger. You can't be angry unless you're hurt. Don't ever forget that. So if you're coming across an angry person, they are so hurt. That always goes to negative thinking, which you can stop in their tracks. Negative thoughts precede negative words. You can't speak poorly about someone if you haven't thought negative words about them. And negative words always make actions. So let's think. If you have an incident and you decide to forgive, and then you decide to think positively about it, and you decide to speak life into that situation, your actions will be positive and your outcomes will be better. Make sense? Yes. All right, I pulled this from last year, and it looks really crazy. But here's the deal. Set your mind on peace. If you have an offense, an event, an incident, an insult, or a stress, you have a decision to make, 1 or 2. You can turn it over and instantly forgive, then you have peace, and then you have power. Or you could let that emotion rise. You're hurt, you're mad, you're sad. If you're sad, you dwell about it. If you're mad, you let the fester of the wrong thoughts happen. And if you're hurt, you lash out at someone. With all of this, you end up talking about it, spreading negativity, and gossip, feeling bad, worries, and frustrations. 2 thoughts, 2 ways to handle it. I pray that you'll choose the right way.
Just describe Facebook. I said you just described
Can
Facebook.
you
I did.
finish that once, just for me? Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
You want that one?
Yes.
Yep.
I need that.
Yep. I can post it tonight too.
Okay.
If you're not my Facebook friend, be it, because I post most of this stuff up. Decision number 8. Oh, we're almost there. There's no more .5s at this point. I don't think. Remember that people are human. Husbands make an awful God. Children learn from you. Our parents did their best, even if that was absolutely awful. Remember that hurt people. And life is love, all else is imagined confusion. So this is like a really cut like a knife slide, but it works. This is like really raw truth in your face. And I love you for it. Decision number 9. Oh, I put 2 columns in this one. See, I was getting nervous. It's too much information. Decide how you will react and forgive before you are hurt. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt tonight, maybe. You're going to get hurt tomorrow. I can guarantee you, sitting here tonight, your difficult person is going to rear up sometime soon. That's how it goes. Decide to forgive because you're forgiven. Forgive because you're going to mess up too, and you're going to need forgiveness. Forgive because that's how God designed us. He designed us to forgive. Forgive because unforgiveness, anger, hurt, and offense are wide open doors for the enemy. This is like a little review session, isn't it? There's no quiz. Decide to forgive because when you go to God with your prayers, you want them heard. Think of your heart like a hard drive. If your storage is full with hurt and anger, then you will have no room for love. So what are you full of? Offer mercy and grace because it's what God does and it feels good. Forgive because anger and hate does not feel good. Decision number 10. Remember what really matters. So life is so short and so precious, and you have to maintain your perspective. I talked about perspective last week with some images from the other side of the world. Surrender your stress and emotion and your feelings to God. Don't talk about them to other people. Don't let them fester. Say, Lord, please change my heart. Lord, please break this from me. Lord, please help me. And then wait and watch what happens. Trade your anger, bitterness, resentment for peace. Let go of right and wrong, because who really cares anyway? The bottom line is that I don't really care who was right or wrong 9 years ago with my dad, or it was like 11 years ago now. 12 years ago. I don't really care who was right or wrong in a business transaction that went bad 2 years ago. I don't really care who was right or wrong in the whole incident of difficult people that I worked with this summer. I don't really care. Who cares? You don't care. I don't care. Who cares? Drop it. No one can steal your joy, and no one can steal your peace. In the blink of an eye, everything can change. So forgive often and love with all of your heart. You may not have that chance again. We made it to 10. Did we skip 9? No, we made it to 9 too. Isn't that right? Francis Chan writes a book called Crazy Love, and it's about being overwhelmed by a relentless God. It's a really great book. And my favorite quote from that is, do you know that nothing you do in this life will ever matter unless it's about loving God and loving the people He has made? And I always read this, so I'm going to read it out loud. So I'll ask that all of you just close your eyes. I want to take your focus off of anything that you're doing. Listen and let the words soak in. The longer that I live, the more that I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, and a home. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day regarding the attitude that we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing that we can do is plan on the one thing that we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. You may open your eyes. Let that soak in. Flood your newsfeed with that. Send this to friends who need it. These words of wisdom are just amazing. Chuck Swindoll he's not credited here and he should be. Chuck Swindoll, Charles Swindoll is a great preacher and he has a great website and he has great books. So I love you all and I'll see you next week. This is Calm in the Storm. And that is that. Go forth in peace. Make